Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Life and Sport Podcast, episode 199. We're closing in on episode 200. And today's episode is with a really incredible guest. He's one of you could say, Rugby League Hard Man, back when, tackles were shoulder charges and all that sort of stuff. His name is Danny Nutley. Thank you very much for joining me today, Danny. And how's your week been so far?
No, it's been great, mate. It's been really good. It's as hot as hell up here in Queensland. It's very humid at the moment, but no, it's good time of year.
That's
So,
nice. Whereabouts in Queensland, like down in Brizzy or like far north sort of thing?
sunny coast, mate.
Very nice. Very
Sunshine
nice.
coast. Yeah.
Cool. Obviously, every sporting journey and or career starts at the grassroots. So my first question is always, what is your earliest memory of rugby league?
Earliest memory of rugby league was the Redcliffe Dolphins. I was a junior there from under 13s and played right through to first grade. Great memories of the club, great mates growing up. A lot of the blokes I played with at Redcliffe went on to play in the NRL and for Australia and that. So yeah,
That's
really good.
awesome.
And yeah, and then they were always gonna be in the NRL. They
Oh
just
yeah,
had this drive for it. And
absolutely.
yeah,
No, that's awesome. My mum, she's raised in Clontarf and always watched the Redcliffe Dolphins games. She always said as soon as the Broncos came in and more or less, let's be honest, destroyed any other team's chances for a while, she was like, until the Dolphins are in the NRL, I'm not watching it. I'll only watch Origin. Um, and now they're in the NRL, so she watched every game she could last year and going to do the same this year. So my next question is, obviously being a Dolphins junior yourself, what was it like to now sit back as a retired player and see the Dolphins, have their first season in the NRL?
mate, it was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I went to a few of their games as well. It was just it's funny seeing the Dolphin emblem out there on the field. It was pretty cool. I was lucky enough to go to the first game as well
Yeah,
against the
against the
Broncos.
Roosters.
So,
Oh, the one against the Broncos.
the one against the Broncos at Suncorp, sorry. Yeah, and it was amazing.
Yeah,
Just the atmosphere, just the boys did well.
I
Yeah.
was at the Broncos Roosters, not Broncos, sorry, Dolphins Roosters round one game, mate. It was that game with those tickets sold like hotcakes. It was a game, like it was so incredible to watch. And also their form early in the year as well, leading into it was the Broncos Dolphins. Both teams were three in a row, only one could do it. And in Brisbane, it's honestly, I love it. Gives me goosebumps because I'm a Broncos fan myself, born in Brizzy. Mum's a Dolphins fan, so as soon as they come back in the league. It was like, rightio, let's go.
Yeah,
Ah,
right.
all right, but this
Yeah, no,
podcast is not about me. It's about yourself. Continue with what you were
yeah.
saying. Sorry.
No, it was just really good. Like I still remember the days when we're at Colts and
Mm-hmm.
they Terry Webb's dad, Des Webb, come and seen us all at training and said, "Listen, boys, we mightn't be able to look after you this year because we used to get a little bit of money on the side,
Yeah.
but he said we mightn't be able to do anything this year. It's we're struggling a bit with the club, but we've got these things called poker machines that we're going to put in. We'll give them a go, and we'll just see. We in 12 months we might be able to pay, so or in 12 months we'll be dead, and the rest is history.
Yeah.
And and
Definitely one of the
and
best
all of
decisions
them
they made.
guys, yeah, all of them guys at the top at Redcliffe always had that drive to get the, the club into the NRL, and
Yeah.
it was such a good moment when they announced that they were going in. It was just brilliant. A lot of hard
That's
work they've done for a lot of years, not just
yeah,
the last
decades,
few years.
decades of work and goals,
That's right,
culminating into last year and the year before getting the bid approved, and then last season.
100%. Yeah, 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 long term people that have been there in that club for a long time, and a lot of good supporters there that have stuck with them, and I was still seeing some of them at the game at Suncorp. It was funny seeing them there, but yeah, it was really good.
That's awesome to hear. And you got your first grade start, as in first grade NSWRL, NRL, ARL, etc. Not with the Dolphins though, but with a
Yeah.
now defunct club, the South Queensland Crushers. What was what was the decision to move from Dolphins through to the Crushers, and also what was it like getting your first taste of top tier professional rugby league?
Well, the coach that year of the Crushers was Steve Bleakley, and he was my Colts coach at Redcliffe, and he got
Okay.
me across. I had a really good year in first grade for Redcliffe the year before in 1996. Yeah, and then he just asked me if I'd come across and play a year at the Crushers. Do you want a chance? And I took it with two hands. I just ran with it.
Well,
And
funny. So continue.
yeah,
Go ahead with what you're saying. I'm just going to unblow my background for a second because I'm going to show
yeah.
you something that I've got in the background. 1 second. Got a South Queensland Crushers poster right there
Right.
from back in the
Not
90s,
done that.
gifted to me by Brett Horsnell.
Oh yeah, the horse. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
Sorry.
yeah,
Continue your story. I just thought I'd show you that because not a lot of people have South Queensland Crushers
yeah.
stuff, and I love
No,
the
they're
Crushers in
very
Queensland
rare.
Rugby League.
The jerseys are very rare too
Oh,
to
they're rare
come
as hen's
across.
teeth.
Yeah. Yeah, and he gave me a chance, and I went there, and it was next level compared to the Brisbane comp at that point in time, and
Like chalk and cheese
I
sort
did,
of thing.
yeah, chalk and cheese. I didn't have the best year that year. I got suspended a couple of times, and I was the bad boy of rugby league. I remember reading one of the headings, and I was just like, "All right, here we go." Yeah, and I really enjoyed it the year, and after that, I went over to Warrington, and
That's literally my next question is what was it like, first of all, going from, your first year in the NRL, ARL, etc. at the time as a youngster,
uh,
impressionable, and then going all the way over to the other side of the world and playing professional rugby league in a totally different climate, totally different people, etc.
um, yeah, it was amazing, like how it actually happened because
Yeah.
Daryl Vanderveld, he was at the Crushers before I got the year before I got there, and
Yep.
he had left to go overseas. Anyway, him and Steve Bleakley, they were talking, and he rang me and just said, "Oh, would you be interested in coming to England?" And I thought, yeah, you know
Was
what, I'm
Blakely
going to
heading over
go.
there too?
No, he wasn't. No, Um, he was undecided at the time. I remember talking to him, and he didn't know what he was doing at the time after that year. But yeah, it was literally we had Mad Monday,
Yep.
and then on the Tuesday, yeah, the Tuesday I was back at work at my mum and dad's bakery at Lawton,
Yeah,
and
wow.
the phone rang, and it was Darryl Vanderbilt from overseas, and he goes, "Hey mate, would you be interested in coming over to Warrington?" And I'd spoken to a lot of the boys from Redcliffe, uh, the senior players, and they'd gone over there and played over there, and they said it's a really good experience. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to go over there and give it a go. Went over there. I actually signed. Daryl spoke to me on the Tuesday, signed the contract, and it was back in the days where it was the old fax machine.
Yep.
So
Yep.
we were faxing back and forth from the UK. I signed on the Wednesday, and I was on the plane on the Saturday. Yeah,
Wow.
it was pretty
And
cool. And I still remember sitting, it was Sunday morning, England time, and I still remember sitting in the house that they give me, and I was just looking at the window going, what the hell have I done?
like,
Yeah.
jeez. Wow.
Yeah, it was
Well,
like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It was dark. It was like midnight. And I was just like, what's happening here? It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, freezing
wow.
cold. Yeah.
Wow.
So,
Well, I mean, you ended up making a mark or an impact in the game over there because you ended up playing over 100 like first grade games over there for Warrington. So you could definitely say you were a fan favorite and or a club favorite in general. You then got the chance to come back to Australia and play with the Sharks. How did that first of all opportunity come about? And was there any other interest from other clubs?
um, there wasn't that point in time. There was no interest from any other clubs. It was just me and Toey Thongs, as
Yep.
you pronounce it. Sorry. Um, was sitting down, and he said, "What do you want to do?" And I said, "Oh, I wouldn't mind going
As in
back
Toboto said
again."
that or someone else?
Yeah, me and Talbot were having a
Yep.
coffee one day, and he goes, "Oh, what do you want to do?" And I said, "I wouldn't mind going back and
Yep.
having a crack." And he goes, "Well, I know Chris Anderson might be looking for some players. He's just signed with
Yep.
And I went, "Oh yeah, that'd be cool." It was a similar. way it happened.
Just a
Of me
casual
going over there.
combo with Tuttle. I was just
Casual
thinking, yeah, it'd be
combo.
an all right idea.
Yeah, a week later, I'm going back to Cronulla. So I was on with Cronulla to go back.
Faxing back and forth.
I think the emails were in
Okay.
by then.
Okay.
So I got a chance there, and I just knew straight away. Since the minute I met Opes, Chris Anderson, I just knew we were going to be good mates and get on well,
Yeah.
And he basically just said to me, he said, "Mate, all I want you to do is bust your ass and have a go. That's all I want you to do." And
that's exactly everything you did in every match that I, as a youngster, remember watching you do. Was all I could do was just fixate on watching Danny Nutley on the TV, because I didn't care about the backline or just Danny Nutley would just run it hard and run it straight, like Shane Webke of the Sharks, basically.
Yeah, no, yeah, it was good. It was a great going there for that first couple of years was just like a whirlwind, it just went so fast,
Well, absolutely. You ended up back in the UK at Castleford of all teams. How did that option come about? Or am I wrong in assuming that you did go to Castleford?
No, yeah, it was 2005. It was the end of 2005, and I just thought to myself, I'd just try and make some money out of it the last couple of years of my footy career to go over there. And it didn't work out the way I wanted, and I ended up back in Australia again. So
yeah. And you signed with the Roosters, which one of the most recent things on Fox League at the moment is Match of the Year sort of thing. They're doing one each year from like the early 90s right through to now. Like Fox League's opinion of what the Match of the Year was. And 2007 was the Roosters. I can't remember against which club. I do have it written down somewhere.
The Warriors.
That's the one. Yeah, it was the Warriors. Do you remember that game? And if so, tell us all about it.
The Roosters and the Warriors, it was 32 all. It was, and it went into extra time, and
no one.
Extra time wasn't enough. Yeah, it ended up being 32 all.
Yeah.
It was one of the best games I've ever played in. There was a half decent crowd at the Sydney Footy Stadium that day. I still remember it was a Sunday afternoon.
Sunday afternoon footy in Sydney.
And it was,
wow.
Yeah, it was just brilliant. It was just to and fro, and we just couldn't. Either side just couldn't get in. It was just a great game. Yeah,
it's honestly absolutely the best match of 2007, other than my beloved Broncos beating the Knights 71-6. That was a great moment as a Broncos fan. Also, speaking of growing up and loving footy, what team did you follow, like support growing up as a kid?
So it was more the Brisbane League for me back then.
Okay, the BRL. Okay, what team did you have there?
Yeah, but I used to follow Brothers
a
little bit. Yeah. And I used to go to the grand finals each year, and that was the old Suncorp Stadium.
Those grand finals are so legendary. I've heard stories that would make a Queensland State of Origin fight look tame.
Yeah, exactly right. Like, and in the crowd and on the footy field, it was just amazing. Yeah, throwing cans at each other. Yeah.
Wow.
No, it was that were the days of when I grew up watching league. They're the days I remember, and going to the old Lang Park and watching the grand finals and that. I used to love it. Like all the finals, I used to go to most of the finals to get in.
But you'd always make sure you go to the grand final.
Yeah, always go to the grand final. Yeah.
That's awesome. One more final question about your career, then we'll get into other sort of questions. Obviously, your time at the Roosters ended and you finished up your career kind of full circle moment with the Sharks. At what point did the Sharks sort of come knocking again, like, hey, do you want to come back? And also, at what point did you realize, you know what, this is going to be my last season?
Well, I sort of made the decision early on, and Freddie was awesome. He just said to me, he said, "Mate, listen, this is what I'm doing." And I said, "Mate, I'm going to put you back into reserve grade." And I said, "Oh, mate, I've done what I want to do in this game. If you're going to do that, like, I'll just move aside and let some young kid have a go,
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, we had that conversation, and then the next day, Ricky Stewart rang, and then I was back at Cronulla. I was literally back at Cronulla the next day. Like, 24 24 hours I was wearing a Roosters training kit, and then the next day I'm wearing a Sharks training kit.
Wow.
And funny, it has it. We played the Roosters that weekend as well.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, and
What did Freddie say to
we
that?
we
Because
ended
you
up
would have
beating
seen him
them.
up.
We beat them at Shark Park. We beat the
Mhm.
Roosters at Shark Park that night, and and I remember my son. He's a mad Roosters supporter, still is. My eldest son, and
Yep.
he cried his eyes out. He
That
couldn't
Dad just
believe
beat
it.
the Roosters.
Dad just beat me team, yeah. So
well, credit with him, for him to still be a Roosters fan after all the clubs you played for.
yeah.
Just before we get into the retirement sort of questions, Queensland called you up in 2005, the pinnacle honour for anyone that grew up in Queensland or grew up supporting Queensland as a state of origin fan. First of all, what did that mean to you, and to pull on the maroon and white jersey?
Oh, it was amazing. It's the one of the best games I've been involved in still to this day. Even though we lost, just the atmosphere. The whole week was just amazing,
Yeah.
And I remember the first phone call I got after I'd been told was from Mark Coyne.
Yep.
And I remember him calling me and going, "Nuts, whatever you do, just enjoy the week and just take it slow and enjoy the whole week." And I purposely made sure I did that, and I enjoyed it, and it was just I had the best time. I was back with me and Thorny were rooming together. We hadn't seen each other for years, and it was just good, good little atmosphere in the whole camp. It was awesome.
That's amazing to hear. Now, obviously, there's some retirement sort of questions that I'd love to get your spin on. First of all, how was the transition, like the first 18 months after retirement? Like, how did that go for you?
Yeah, it was pretty tough actually. It was not so much missing the footy side of things. It was more the mates, all your
Yeah.
mates around you. That was the hardest bit I dealt with after football. And I went into a business, and yeah, it was just like you should never go into business with friends, sort of thing. And
Gotcha.
it ended up going pear shaped after about 18 months.
Oh, wow.
And then I ended up going into the mining industry, and and end up spending the next 15 years in the mining industry. So yeah, it was I'm a true believer of things happen for a reason in your life, and that was just one of them things. And yeah, it was a tough time, but it's made me a better person now, I reckon.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Absolutely. Everything does happen for a reason, whether it's a learning curve experience, whether it's positive, etc. It's
Yeah,
always absolutely everything happens for a reason.
yeah.
Obviously, another question I like to ask players that are retired is, do you watch much NRL since retiring?
I do watch it.
Mainly the
Not, I'm
Dolphins
not, I'm
last year?
not, I'm not. I don't watch every single game every day, but I'll sit at least watch 2 games a weekend. Yeah,
And obviously
yeah,
last year, you made sure one of them was the Dolphins games, yeah?
yeah. I went to a few of the Dolphins games. Yeah, it was a bit of a
Nice.
shame that Broncos got beat in the final too.
It
I was
is.
following and hoping Kevy would get them over the line. So,
Well, for all intents and purposes, they were over the line. They just started playing defensive too
yeah,
early, in my opinion. Again, I'm not
yeah,
a professional footy player, but you would have seen it. They started playing defensive, I reckon, about 5 to 10 minutes too early.
yeah. They put the cue in the rack a bit early. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, luckily, though, that weekend, it wasn't a total loss for me because I'm a Collingwood fan in the AFL. So
Oh, there
Collingwood
you
got the
go.
grand final win the day before, and then the Broncos shit the bed. I
Yeah.
just would hate to be a Brisbane Lions and Brisbane Broncos fan that weekend. Jeez.
yeah.
Like
Yeah,
they
it
call
wasn't
the
good, eh?
nah, they're calling it I think I read it somewhere, the Great Brisbane Choke of 2023, because both teams
Uh,
had the lead at some point in the game and then both lost collectively by 6 points total.
yeah, it's
Like,
amazing, eh? That like you wouldn't dream about that.
nah, you wouldn't. You couldn't
Yeah,
script it, as they say. Your feet deserve a break, guys. And what better way to treat them right than with a new pair of thongs? And guys, Toey Thongs has you covered. No word of an actual lie. These thongs are the comfiest pairs I've ever owned. Straight out of the package, soft as heck. They come in single plugger and double plugger. I'm currently rocking the single pluggers. Yeah, guys, for just $30 per solo pair. And the more you buy, the cheaper they get. And who doesn't love cheap thongs, you know? They also offer a monthly subscription to receive a pair every month for 6 months. So if you're a thong fiend or just need a new pair, be sure to head to toeythongs.com, use our code LifeandSport15 for 15% off at checkout. Now, we
Yeah.
do have a quick five or a quick fire question section brought to you by
Yeah.
one of our sponsors, Toey Thongs.
Yeah.
And this is just rapid fire, answer it as quick as you think about it, sort of thing. First
Yeah.
question, Apple or Android?
Apple.
Absolutely. How do you like your steak?
Medium rare.
Yes. What is your favorite movie of all time?
Favorite movie of all time is The Green Mile.
That's a great film. I've got two more questions. This one's kind of quick fire, but it's going to be interesting because you've got a Byron Bay Brewing hat and a Stone and Wood shirt. Question is, what's your drink of choice?
Drink of choice
Yep.
is I like craft beers. I like
I
trying
love
all
craft
different
beers
craft
too.
beers.
Yep.
Yeah, like just
IPAs,
yeah,
XPAs, stouts.
ISPAs, XPAs are my favorite. Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah,
That makes sense why you got the Stone and Wood. I love that too. So honestly, I could get around a nice IPA.
yeah.
And obviously, the final question for the quick five is thongs or Crocs?
Thongs.
Yeah, absolutely. Now we've got some final questions, sort of thing to about your playing time, and then some retrospective sort of questions. First of all, who was the
Yeah.
biggest pest you played with,
Played with Chris Beatty.
and who was the biggest pest you played against?
Against would be Riddell.
Yeah, Piggy Riddle. I've heard that.
Yeah,
What are three life lessons you've learned that you wish you knew, like back in the day when you were younger?
be patient.
Yep.
Um, what else? Listen to your elders.
Yep.
And what would be the other life lesson? Um, I don't know. Actually, that's a tough one. Three, maybe. Yeah. Um, put a bit more money away when you're younger and don't throw it over the bar.
Fair enough. Two final questions. Looking back on your career, what's your proudest achievement?
Proudest achievement, state of origin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
goes without saying. I think some Queenslanders, even if they made Australia, would say Queensland is like higher up than Australia somehow. And I
It's the
cannot
best
blame them.
football in the world, isn't it? It's when
It
you
really
look
is.
at it. Yeah. Mm.
It really is. And my final question is, what's next for Danny Nutley?
What's next? Next, I'm just going into support work actually, and
Okay.
and I'm doing NDI, starting to do NDI stuff. So it's
Are you
something I
enjoying
really
that?
do. I really love. When I was in mining, I did a lot of people leadership stuff, and I love um that side of things is helping people out, and with the NDIS stuff, it's pretty rewarding, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
so
awesome.
that's
Um,
that's next for me.
no, that's honestly awesome. You know what? Let's go the really early crow. Final question, and it's
Yeah.
who do you think takes out the grand final win for this year in 2024?
2024.
Yeah.
Um, Dark horse is
Mm,
the Gold Coast Titans.
you reckon? Okay.
Yeah, that's my dark horse. But I think Brisbane, the way they played last year, they're going to be a lot more experienced. You know, they're going to have
They're gonna they're gonna be like Penrith in
drive under the
2021.
bonnet
After
because
yeah,
yeah,
I've got that sense as
because of
well. Yeah,
how they got beaten in the grand
exactly.
final. I just think they're going to have a lot of burning desire in them
And they will
to
have learned from it. Absolutely agreed. Like similar to how Penrith were in 2020 against the Storm, they then went on to obviously win 3 grand finals in a row. I'm not saying Broncos will do that, but I definitely think taking my Broncos bias away from it, I think if Penrith don't win it, the Broncos definitely will.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I do have one more question. Why do you think the Titans are a dark horse?
I know the way Desi works, and
Yeah.
he's a very, very good coach, and I think he just might. The only thing that'll hold him back, he just mightn't have the cattle this year until they make some more signings next year
Okay.
to get there. But I think they'll be very consistent this year with Desi,
Well, I
a
mean,
lot more consistent than they have been over in the last few years.
yeah, well, I mean, look at what he did when he went from Manly to the Bulldogs. Like the Bulldogs,
Yeah,
two grand final appearances at least in as many years, basically, and they were awful for a while before that. Then he goes back to Manly and gets them in finals. So, it goes without saying that maybe we could see the Titans in finals at least.
yeah. I 100% reckon they'll be in the finals. It's just whether they get to that last day. You
Yeah,
know.
that's fair. Fair enough. Well,
Yeah.
thank you very much, Danny, for your time. I very
No
much
worries,
appreciate it.
CJ. Awesome podcast too, mate.